welcome to 1-2. Today we're going to be talking about exponents. Our goal is that you will be able to represent numbers by using exponents, and that you will start to think of exponents as just repeated multiplication. So I really liked this picture that I found for our background. I think it's a great way to explain how exponents work. The 2 is the base, the 4 is the exponent, and what that 4 means right here you can see is we're going to multiply our base 4 times. So it doesn't mean 2 times 4. That is not what it means. It means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. We have to multiply 2 by itself 4 times. So we'll go into more of that. Let's get started. Here's another quick view of that base number and your exponent. So 7 to the third power is the same as doing 7 times 7 times 7. And if we multiply that all out, we get 343. So if we look at that, the exponential form of this would be 7 to the third power. So when you're doing your assignment, it's going to ask you to sometimes write your answer in exponential form. So that's what that means, exponential form using exponents. When it asks you to find the value, that would be actually multiplying it together. 7 times 7 times 7. So I know that this is 49. This is how I like to do it, and then I can keep it nice and organized, and I don't have to worry about forgetting, because sometimes you're going to get something like 2 to the 9th power. So that means you're multiplying 2 9 times, so you really want to make sure you're organized with showing your work so you don't make a mistake. So then I would just have to do 49 times 7. 9 times 7 is 63. 7 times 4 is 28, plus 6 more is 34. 343. So this would be how I would find the value of an exponent. Then if it asks you to write your answer with using repeated multiplication, you would just do 7 times 7 times 7. Or I would be okay if you wanted to do the x for this one. When we get farther into our study of math this year, we will kind of do away with the x because we're going to be starting to work with variables. So I would probably start practicing now, just kind of instead of writing the x to represent multiplication, we would use the dot. That's how we would represent our multiplication. All right, let's try some more examples here. Now, I really like this chart because it kind of shows if you have the number 10 to the first power, that how we would say it is 10 to the first power, and we just multiply 10 by, well, it would just be 10. So anything to the first power, 7 to the first power equals 7. 83 to the first power equals 83. So that just means we have one of them. Now, on a side note, this is kind of one of those loophole informations, so make sure you write this into your notes. Anything to the power of 0 is 1. I could have 835 to the power of 0, it's going to equal 1. I could have 7 to the power of 0, it's always going to equal 1. Okay, and so if we look back at our chart here, our table, there we go, there's the word I'm looking for. I have the number here, 10 to the second power, and we could also say that as 10 squared. So that would be multiplying 10 times 10, or give us the value of 100. 10 to the third power can be 10 cubed, or 10 to the third power. That would be the same as multiplying 10 by 10 by 10, or we would get 1,000. And lastly, 10 to the fourth power, we'd say it 10 to the fourth power. 10 times 10, we multiply together 4 tens, and we get 10,000. So how I like to figure out squared and cubed is I think of a square, and to find the area, I multiply 2 sides of it. So I would multiply these 2 sides, let's say, so I would get a square, 10 squared or whatever it would be. And then cubed, we think about volume, and I would multiply my base times my height times the width of the 3D shape. So that would be like a cube. And the more you practice, the more it'll kind of become easier for you to remember. So let's do some examples here. Write each expression in exponential form. Now that's pretty simple. So I know my base number is 4 because that's the number that I'm writing. Now I have to, in order to find the exponent, I have to ask myself how many times did I multiply my base number together. I multiplied it 1, 2, 3 times. So that would be 4 to the third power or 4 cubed. Okay, but I just have to write in exponential form, so that's good. 4 to the third power right here. Now for this next problem, my base number is 9. So that's going to be my big one. And then when I ask myself what exponential number should I write down, so I just need to count how many times I multiply that base number together. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 nines, so this would be the same as doing 9 to the 5th power. Okay, now this is where things get a little trickier because I have to actually find the value. So when you're doing your homework, make sure you read the directions so you know if you have to write it in exponential form, multiplication, write it as multiplication, or if you have to find the value. So that means I have to write 7 2's. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Do you see how I'm writing these little arrows to keep myself nice and neat? I need to multiply these together, and then I bring down my 2. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 2 is 8. 16 times 8. Let me figure that one out. When I multiplied that out, I got 128 is my answer. So then I'll put my box around my answer so I know, or when I come around to look at your papers, I can see exactly where your answer is. And you can notice too, I made everything in nice neat lines so that you don't get mixed up. Alright, let's try this next one. Now this is going to be a big number. Doesn't appear to be, but 6 times 6 times 6 times 6. So I know 6 and 6 is 36. 6 and 6 is 36, but now here's the tricky part. I have to multiply this together. So when I multiplied that together, I got 1,290 for my answer here. Alright, so that's all we have to do. We just have to really make sure we're being very careful with our multiplication. I tried to speed up the video a little bit because we've already been practicing how to multiply multi-digit numbers. So I just wanted to kind of shorten the video a little bit by not showing you all of those steps. If you would like me to start showing you those steps, please give me that feedback in class. All right, we have one word problem to go over here quick. All right. If Dana's school closes school closes because of weather, a phone tree is used to contact each student's family. The secretary starts by calling 3 families, then each family calls 3 other families, and so on. How many families will be notified during the 6th round of calls? Okay, so I kind of drew this little tree here. So it starts with the secretary. She calls 3 people. They call 3 people. And what I'm noticing here is, so 3 is kind of our base number. If we're thinking exponents, 3 is our base number, and she's the first one. So actually we'd start at 0 because there's 1 person. 3 to the first power would be 3 calls. 3 to the second power, 3 squared is 9 because 3 times 3 equals 9. So all we have to do is think of it in exponents. So how many will be on the 6th round? You can imagine if you kept drawing this tree, it would get very messy. Luckily, we have math and we have a strategy to use to solve this problem. And that is our exponent. So I can do 3 to the 6th power to solve this. Okay, so then I just have to do 3 times 3 times, okay, this is going to be a big number. 3 times 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I would get 9, 9, 9, get my multiplication signs in there. 81 times 9 is what I need to do to figure this one out. I'll do that on the side over here. You can do it on your paper. All right, when I multiplied that out, I got 729. It says how many families, so then I should write my unit, my families, after it, so I know what 729 represents. And I'll put my box. I have all my work shown, and I am good to go. That is all I have for you today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.